You're listening to Disrobing the Mosh Pit, a dissection of music and popular culture, with your hosts, Pete and Tom. Good evening, Peter.
Oh, good evening, Tom.
How you doing today, all right?
Good, thanks, man. Yourself?
Yeah, good.
Awesome.
Very good. Any interesting news from your side of things?
Well, not really, no. That's an immense shoot down. Sorry about that.
No, same. No, that's all good. It's interesting. One thing I wanted to talk about, starting this episode, number 12.
12, yeah.
Was this kind of phenomenon with the Spotify Wrapped thing where people have been getting a kick from figuring out learning about what they've been listening to the most, whether or not they expect it, and then sharing that kind of thing. Do you want to maybe share a bit what your one looked like? Because you did it, right?
Does anyone even have a choice with that?
I think you do.
You have a choice if you share it, I suppose.
Oh, yeah.
Whether you get it or not, I think it just comes to you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, totally. So I think my top 5... I think number 1 was Volcano Girls by Veruca Salt. I think we touched on this in an earlier episode.
Nice, yeah, we did, yeah.
But because the kids have such an everlasting love for the song, it just gets beaten to death in our house. The second was Hakuna Matata off The Lion King. I can't remember the last 3 songs. One of them was something. No. I'll reference it right now whilst you're waxing lyrical.
Well, you raise an interesting point, and that is I think that most people that I know, our age, mention their algorithm being slightly skewed by their kids jumping on their Spotify. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my wife included, actually. But my one was kind of interesting because I had some of the stuff's at odds, right? Because I had my number 1 genre actually being death metal, but my mood being chill.
Interesting.
Weird, eh?
There's like a complete antithesis of each other.
Yeah, weird, eh?
Yeah, it is weird.
God knows how they get to that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Actually, I wonder how they figure that out.
Well, I know someone whose mood they had was focused. So where the hell does that come from?
How do you define that?
Yeah.
Like, how do they? What algorithm determines that you're focused?
How dare they?
How dare they?
Yeah, and I'm happy to report that with regards to podcast, right at the top. Disrobing the Mosh Pit, number 1 for me. What about you? You're a big listener though, right?
Can you actually
the podcast?
see that?
Yeah.
On there. To be honest, I haven't seen it.
Yep, that's one of the slides. It's the podcast.
I imagine it probably will be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
awesome. Quite, narcissistic, isn't it? When you listen to your own.
I got to check it out, and often,
true,
often it's like pretty much the second time that I've heard it when I've sort of listened. Not editing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
Get a sense of the flow of it, that kind of thing, and I forget like 90% of it, basically.
You want to listen to it like everyone else listens to it.
Yeah. Get amongst with
Tom
the
Pera,
plebs.
Just on the street. He's listening to Disrobing the Mosh Pit. I'm a part of Disrobing the Mosh Pit. Yeah. I am Disrobing the Mosh Pit.
Just go around and just try to convince as many people as possible. Yeah. But I think that it was fascinating to see who was sharing that kind of thing. And it made me wonder a little bit, like, how many people got their rap sheet back from Spotify and were just like, no, I'm not sharing that. You know?
Yeah. Do you reckon people are like that though?
I don't know.
There's bound to be. They're mildly embarrassed about what they actually listen to.
I mean, we've talked about guilty pleasures before. I wonder, when you talk about guilty pleasures, it's like, geez, is this the thing that makes up like 90% of your listening? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I had a couple in there for sure.
Well, I think I just had a look just then.
Yeah.
So mine was Hotel California, A Stairway to Heaven, and something else. Atahuda, which is the Marlon Williams song.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, nice one. That's pretty good. That's pretty good, really.
Yeah, I think it's quite a broad spectrum.
Yep, you've got kids in the house, obviously. And so it's your taste and the kids' taste kind of mixed together. Mm-hmm. My one looks like I've got like pretty much a circus in the house. But that's all just me.
Was it like circus music? Like
no, just a circus in regards to like a bunch of weird characters, really.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but the kids have their own sort of Spotify stuff going on because they're a bit older than yours. Yeah, so their one was pretty bizarre as well. Mm-hmm. Interesting. So today, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I thought we might touch on the music and TV.
TV themes?
Yeah, like quite a broad spectrum, really.
Yeah.
Like what we sort of get out of it.
Just to specify, not the actual music in the TV program, but the theme song?
The theme song,
Okay,
yes.
yeah, nice,
the
yeah.
lead in and the lead out.
Nice.
Credits.
Nice. So what makes you think that topic's a good one to talk about?
Well, I think everyone's sort of, watching TV. Certainly of our vintage, Tom. I think we certainly have TV themes that we can recall quite rapidly.
What do you think that is?
Well, we probably discussed this quite a lot in terms of our formative years.
Yeah.
And what makes an impression. Certainly, when we were growing up in the 80s, 90s, TV was such a novelty as well. And you sort of lived your life through TV programs in a lot of ways.
That sounds amazing when you say TV was a novelty, given to our habits these days.
I
But
know.
yeah, carry on.
But the TV would go on after dinner maybe, and there'd be a few programs that you could potentially watch, and then it'd go off at 10. Then the Goodnight Kiwi would climb up into the TV tower and turn off, and then it'd just be like.
That's going back a little while, eh? It's good. It's real good though.
Yeah.
And you kind of, I guess, they're locked in there, these themes into your musical memory, because they sort of are tied into this feeling that you get when you watch that show, right?
Yeah, totally.
And I wonder if there's this thing going on where when you hear the first part of it, like when you hear the very first part of Seinfeld, or you hear the very first part of Coronation Street, I'm sort of picturing all these old biddies sitting down.
It's funny you should mention that, because I'm bored when you
you just yawn as a
Yeah.
oh, man.
No, seriously.
But that must be you're a pilot. You know what it's like to land at home. That must be what that feels like for some people who watch because Coro Street fans are just crazy. Oh man,
rabid.
Yeah.
If you can call the sort of the older generation
fans.
rabid.
Yeah, super fans, vicarious.
Yeah, but I think that's that's probably part of the reason why TV themes are so memorable, because you do vicariously live your life through a lot of the characters and a lot of TV programs.
Totally.
Particularly when you're younger.
Yeah. So when you're starting off, when you sit down and you watch this thing, and particularly when we've talked about, these formative years when we're teenagers and that kind of stuff, you get into this frame of mind and this mood, and perhaps you're more open to tying that sound in with your feeling and this multisensory experience. Do you feel like TV shows these days have the same sort of TV show themes, have the same kind of effect? Yes or no, more or less?
Well, I'm not of that age anymore, Tom. But
but you watch new TV programs.
Probably not as much, because I think in this day and age, TV is a little bit more on demand. I can't remember when that sort of really changed over, but there wasn't so you can watch pretty much any TV program now whenever you want to, and you can watch series just back to back. Long gone are the days where there'd be one episode a week or something, and you'd have to wait an entire week. So you sort of really coveted, one episode of Seinfeld or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas that doesn't really exist anymore.
Netflix has this thing, where you can skip the intro. I've noticed that for some reason that infuriates me.
Yeah.
You can't do that on other platforms, right? I've not seen it on Amazon Prime or Disney Plus. The skipping intro, is that a Disney Plus thing? I haven't got a Disney Plus account, but you do.
Yeah, they're more movies. To be honest, I've never watched a series on them.
Yeah, so skipping the intro is like a Netflix thing, right? So I guess you kind of have to either sit through it or skip through it on other platforms. But can you think back to something that does perhaps have a bit of this meaning for you and that you remember and you associate with that experience? And maybe we can think of something these days that is a big deal. Because I've got one in my head now that's a modern one in the last sort of 5 years. It's kind of a big deal, the theme song. And I'm interested in sort of seeing if we feel like it's got the same sort of weight as the one that maybe you can think of.
It's difficult, because I can think of things like Alf.
Boom, dum, dum, boom, dum, dum, boom, boom.
We were like talking about Alf before we started recording the podcast. MacGyver?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely classic.
Like that was so
MacGyver.
punchy. Didn't that like really drag you into what MacGyver actually was? Like
Totally.
It was like action packed.
Excitement.
Yeah, so exciting.
I mean, how staunch is that? You finish on an explosion with his name. That's so hard out when you think about it, eh?
Like it's such a building.
He's making tools. He's jumping out of a plane, I'm pretty sure, at one point. Doesn't he grab like a cobra?
Yeah.
It's just all, oh man, it's crazy.
And who didn't try to do something like MacGyvering? I mean, still call it MacGyvering.
You probably had that song running through your head while you're doing it.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
He also brought up Baywatch.
Yeah, Baywatch.
That particular theme song, which is interesting as well because it's actually got lyrics in there. Looking forward to doing the A Capella
Didn't they get you
version.
fired up? You want to like go and get the it looked like a drive like a Purcell washing powder bottle,
yeah,
but like
the
spray painted
lifesaver.
red and like run into the
floaty
water with it.
Yeah. So those stayed with us, those ones, I reckon. One theme like from recent years that I think had quite an impact was the Game of Thrones theme.
Yeah. How does that go, Tom?
Everyone kind of knows it straight away. Bum, bum, ba-da-dum, bum, ba-da. Another one is that Stranger Things, you know. And when I say everyone knows it, I mean like you can hear like a second of it. It's kind of sonic branding, but you can hear a very, very short moment of it and know what it is.
Do you think the more modern series are more not as sort of hard hitting? They're sort of a lot more, dare I say it, maybe slightly more complex, but sort of a lower tone.
You mean musically?
Yeah, musically. Like, can you think of any sort of like themes of like modern TV series that are quite hard hitting? Like when you think of Baywatch, hard hitting.
Yeah.
Some people, you know, that sort of thing. And then like, you know, MacGyver. You know, so it's full on. But then like, you know, if you're talking about a Game of Thrones, it's relatively like sort of quite mild almost.
It's kind of like epic, sort of majestic, that kind of thing going on. But you're right. I think it doesn't have the machismo of some of those ones, like MacGyver. Like it doesn't have that sort of full-on boldness, I guess. But one interesting one lately that I actually watch through every time, that's rare. Like for me to actually not skip something is super rare, man, like these days, because I've got a really short attention span. And even if I like the song, I'll probably skip it usually, except there's one from this TV show Raised by Wolves that we did talk about before. I was just talking about, it's a science fiction film, but series, but the theme song is like not necessarily about the technological side of it, but about the human side of it. It sort of speaks to that theme of the series because it's got this sort of like futuristic arc, as in like Noah's Ark type storyline. And
it's androids in it?
Yeah, it's kind of a humans androids kind of thing. So there's this real intimate kind of theme with this woman singing. I'll look up her name again in a minute, but
Mariam Valentin.
That's one that I don't skip. And I think that what you're saying before, does it have the same sort of impact? I'm kind of like, that does have an impact, but maybe it's not as bold.
No,
It's
in a
kind
different way, right?
Yeah. It's kind of quiet. It's more subtle, but I think it's like,
Do you reckon it's more emotive? You know, we sort of talked about like sort of earwormy type adverts in one of our previous podcasts, and it's like there's earwormy adverts and music for adverts. And then there's the sort of very sort of subtle sonic branding type element. It's in the same sort of vein, you know, we had sort of the older school type programs with the real sort of hard hitting, the very earwormy, whereas now it's slightly more subtle and it's more emotive.
yeah.
I mean, we still find like MacGyver very emotive, but in a different way. It wasn't like the music was like, you know, it awoke an emotion of, you know, longing in me, but it just, you know, it just is different.
I think that's pretty fair. I think that's due to a number of factors, one of which would be probably the composers who write for them being like having access to tools. You know, most people would use a lot of tools that are in their disposal in their home studio who are right for that kind of stuff, unless it's like proper big budget, like The Mandalorian or something like that.
Yeah.
Again,
Giant recorder?
yes, like a bass recorder. So good, man. And what I love about that guy's approach, I'll look up his name as well. I'm going to take note of his names I have to look at next time you start talking.
We could cut it in here, Tom.
Yeah. Yeah, true. Ludwig Göransson.
Do you reckon that they, you know, music composers that compose for TV series read the script for it, like read the pilot script? And go,
Surely.
Yeah, because otherwise how would you kind of like go, well, this is the theme. Like,
What are the lyrics to Baywatch? Like, are they?
Some people stand in the darkness. Oh, that's it. Some people stand in the darkness afraid to come into the light. I'm not sure where it goes from there, but I know that there's that,
Something about getting a tan. Yeah. I'll be ready. Yeah. Okay.
Forever and always. Oh.
I think a lot of work goes into that. I think, you know, the director would have the final say into, obviously, you know, what the theme song is. But they'll definitely give them a brief, like, this is the storyline. We kind of want it to be.
Do you reckon they skim read it, go, yeah, they would do. Like,
yeah, I mean, maybe they include some sort of character motifs in there and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
What do you reckon from your sort of childhood days, what sort of sticks with you?
I always loved the theme to that show, Angela.
Angela?
Sorry, the theme song is called Angela. The show is called Taxi.
Oh, Taxi, yeah.
Yeah, and Danny DeVito, right?
Yeah.
So really, really old. Not heaps of people my age kind of know about it because I feel like it's on the very, very edge of my memory. But
yeah,
totally,
yeah.
Like I couldn't tell you I could probably tell you that Danny DeVito was in it, but not that much else about the storyline.
It's funny you should mention that because that's exactly what I think of it, like right on the edge of my memory, and it's sort of like Taxi morphed into Cheers.
It's old, eh? Like I think it's like 1978. It might have stopped running in New Zealand like 1984 or 6 or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm not sure, but really, when I was about sort of 4 or 5, that's when I can. I remember the last little bit of it. Yeah, but ones like that, ones like Cheers.
Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name.
Boom, 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 boom.
And they're always glad you came.
Boom, 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 boom.
You want to be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You want to be where everybody knows your name.
Like keyboard up as well. Yeah. Everybody knows. Yeah, those are the ones that sort of stick out for me. There's also a really, really random Aussie one called Betty's Bunch.
Betty's Bunch?
Yeah. And the theme was like, we are the kids from Betty's Bunch. Yeah. Betty loves the bunch. And the bunch loves Betty. Ooh. And that's like proper obscure. I've like never met anyone else, unless I dreamt it or something, but I've never met anyone else who's actually seen
Betty's
it.
Bunch?
And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Betty's Bunch? I've never heard of that before. I'm sure that was a thing. Maybe I had to dream it, I don't know.
Did you ever get into like Neighbours and Home and Away?
You know we belong together, you and I forever and ever. No matter where you are, you're my guiding star. And from the very first moment I saw you, I never felt such emotion. I'm walking on air just to know you are there. Hold me in your arms, don't let me go. I want to stay forever, closer each day. All right away.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't get into them, but I remember them.
Yeah.
Neighbours,
And you're like vehement hate of Mrs. Mangle?
Mrs. Mangle. Yeah. Yeah,
Damn,
totally.
Mrs. Mangle, always getting in everyone's business.
Yeah, and of course, that theme song comes into everyone's mind as well, as soon as they hear that. It's a really special thing. It's really worth investing in a good theme song if you're a director, right? Because, it puts us in a frame of mind before we start watching. We talk about Seinfeld. That theme's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
So you already got a sense of the absurd kind of running through your head when you start watching it, which helps it, to no end, of course.
Well, that's true, because it has to sort of like lead into what the program's about, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a whole point of the TV theme.
Same with in the same vein, like Curb Your Enthusiasm, The same thing. It's basically just a ridiculous old man kind of going around getting himself into like... What's that?
Tell me why I love you like I do.
Oh my God, what's that again?
Mad About You.
Oh, Mad About You. Yeah. Yeah, true. So many classics there, eh?
And Frasier, which I never really got into. Did you ever get into Frasier?
I didn't get into it, but I do know the theme well.
There's that line in the
vibraphone.
theme that chopped salad and scrambled eggs. I don't know what, who puts chopped salad with the scrambled eggs? It's real weird.
It's got the scat thing going on, eh? As in like scat, the jazz style of singing.
Yeah,
not
that's
like scatological. Yeah. Yeah, that's another interesting one. But speaking of modern ones as well, I mean, is there anything that you can think of that comes to mind?
Well, the only ones that really come to mind at the moment are kids' programs like Rainbow Rangers.
Yes, of course, because that's the thing that gets stuck in your head and gets played on repeat, isn't it? When you've got a little one in the house who's looking at stuff. What about kids' ones from back in the day that you can remember?
Like Secret Squirrel?
Oh, no, I don't remember
Inspector Gadget.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Up and Adamant.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that one?
Yep.
And catch the pigeon.
Mac and Muttley, eh?
Yeah.
As well.
All of those ones. Definitely, I can remember all of those.
But I do, looking back and what we've been talking about, I do wonder what we sacrifice by having a skip intro button and the Netflix kind of platform there, because I've heard people talk about the Sopranos one before, and I think I've heard something about the director. His name's David. I can't remember his name.
David Chase,
but the guy who wrote Sopranos, and I think like the intention, because have you heard this thing recently about how Adele got the shuffle button removed, or at least not set to default for albums?
I think you were telling me about this, yeah.
Yeah, so Adele, from what I've read, managed to get Spotify to change it so that by default albums play the whole way through from start to finish as intended by the artist. So you got to wonder if some director isn't going to do the same thing to Netflix. I'm sure they won't be successful.
But do you think like if you getting into a series and like maybe you're like, I don't know, you're up to series like 6 or something of the same series and it's the same theme song, then it's okay to skip the theme?
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, maybe if you're a director, this is what we were just talking about, though. You know, how you sit there and you get in the zone and you get in the frame of mind where you're just. It's almost like a meditative 30-second section where you sort of are ready to properly absorb the program and, you know, get right into the zone for it.
Do you reckon it's an opportunity for people to go and put the kettle on and come back with a cup of tea while the theme song's going on?
I think, well, what I'm saying is that I think probably a director thinks about it like, I want people to sit through this.
See, I suppose, you know, back in the day when a program was on maybe once a week or twice a week or whatever, like Friends was on every night, but like it's once a day, right? So you probably wouldn't really get too sick of it. Tired of it. Whereas now if you're watching like a box set and you're watching it over and over, like back to back to back.
Of course,
you're probably going, do I really want to listen to this? Like, I've watched like 50 of these and I don't really want to hear the theme song again.
You do raise a good point, for sure. And I was skipping through that Sopranos thing because I recently just really binge watched that. And I was like, so I would skip through that.
See, that binge watching thing is quite a relatively new phenomenon, really. I mean, apart from if you went to like, I don't know, when you went to like Video Easy, you could buy box sets of stuff, could you?
I think you get higher box sets, for sure.
Then that's binge watching, I suppose, isn't it? Or you get the binge VHS. You know, you get the VHSs out and you could like binge watch like 3 tapes. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, definitely. What about some weirder TV themes?
Weirder TV themes?
Any that you'd sort of been, that you remember that were just kind of a little bit off the wall? Perhaps they were memorable because they were so weird and so different.
That Twin Peaks I was like talking to you about. That's quite off the wall, particularly for its time, which would have been, probably like late 80s, early 90s. It was around sort of the grunge period. Very sort of like, have you ever watched the intro for Twin Peaks? And it's kind of like real sort of like an industrial sort of backwater town.
Yeah.
There's like a wood mill or something, and there's like lots of like factory kind of scenes, and then the theme's like really kind of like it's mildly creepy, but it's kind of sleepy at the same time. It's like incredibly emotive.
It's kind of quite. It's vague. Hey, the intention is kind of vague. Whereas you take something like X-Files,
yes.
Where it's like, okay, this is just Twilight Zone. You know, this is like really aliens.
They nailed it though with that, didn't they?
Absolutely.
Didn't like just the theme itself just kind of freak you out? You want to close the curtains and worry you're going to get abducted at some point.
Yeah, man. And it's like that's the sound of aliens after that, and kind of piss take kind of spoof, clips. That's the sound of aliens. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Surely that's from that X-Files theme.
Well, what would have been an alien sound prior to the X-Files, do you think?
Oh, God, I don't know. War of the Worlds, kind of, maybe? Yeah, War of the Worlds, Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Well, that's sort of like a vibra kind of thing. Like
maybe that's
like Star Trek, you know, like kind of has that sort of like, kind of like sort of like very, that's like kind of quite wavery. Like,
you know what that is? That is a theremin, right? That
theremin, that's what I was trying to think of.
Yeah. And I'm not quite sure how they work, but it's perfect for communicating this whole like weird otherworldly kind of sound.
Totally.
So that brings up another point as well, I guess, which is it's not so much, because if you take something like Cheers or Baywatch, where it's sort of saying a little bit about the storyline and, you know, it's kind of triumphant. It's like, you know, Baywatch is like, I'll be there. Is it ready?
I'll be ready.
I'll be ready.
But there's good too.
Yeah.
It
works.
Some people stand in the darkness, afraid to step into the light. Some people need to have somebody and to surrender inside. 'cause I'm always ready. I won't let you out of my sight. I'll be ready. Oh, don't you fear. I'll be ready. Forever and always. I'm always here.
But like when we're talking about, I guess, the theme of the thing, how it can be instrumental but still communicate that kind of theme like straight away as well. Synths are real good for that, actually.
Yeah.
You know, synths have got this freaky thing like Stranger Things.
Do you reckon they're making a real renaissance now, like, and particularly in TV themes?
Definitely Stranger Things would be instrumental, no pun, in you know, and instigating that kind of resurgence there. Same with the whole, I guess, that whole retro thing was. I love Stranger Things. Did you like it? Have you watched it?
I've only watched like maybe a couple of episodes. I haven't really got into it
Oh
yet.
man, I found it so nostalgic.
I've got young kids, Tom.
They just
It's real hard to sit down
true.
and watch a full binge watch, as it were.
I tried watching it with my son, and he ran out of the room because there's a couple of scary bits in there. He's not quite old enough yet, but it is really good, and it's kind of like, oh my god, it's exactly what the 80s are like. You know, everyone smoked.
Yeah.
You know, the cops were fat.
I find it like odd when I see people smoking now.
Interesting. I've got this kind of thing where I like always smile and say hello, how are you doing to people who are smoking.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I kind of do because like I feel like everyone kind of just like gives them shit all the
They've
time.
been beaten down so
Yeah,
long.
that's right. The only thing they get is the like evil eyes from people. So I'm just like,
Yeah,
how
true.
you doing? You know, good on you. Don't worry, you're safe with me. You know, your secret's safe.
Come into Tom's fold.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
folds, but fold.
Just crack a window and come on in. Yeah, totally. Sorry, a little side topic there. But yeah, definitely those guys, I think probably the sales for plugins and synths and that kind of stuff for that kind of sound would have skyrocketed. You know, have the same effect as someone like Skrillex doing that whole like ruff, 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 ruff sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Stranger Things. Pretty sure I actually, might have gone out and got synths that sounded pretty much like
Did
that
you?
as well. Yeah.
You were suckered in by that. You're like, right, I'm going to replicate.
It's just so vibey. Like immediately you're put in that space. Hey.
I love how that, I love themes that do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, transport you straight there, eh?
Totally. Yeah. Hey, should we talk a little bit about this drop that we're drinking here?
Yeah, sure.
brought
Bit
along
of tasting notes, is it?
A little bit of tasting.
Bit of tasting notes.
So this is very local, isn't it?
It's incredibly local. It's probably, and from Tom's place, it's probably, and I'm not going to reveal like Google Maps where you live, Tom, because it's a bit stalkerish.
Good
But
call.
yes, it's probably only about maybe like 1 kilometre to 2 kilometres up the road, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty quick.
It's Zephyr cider. It's the original apple cider. I thought we might go for something a little bit different. Oh, ye old English, as it were.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because what music goes with cider? You're totally right.
Yeah, I'm thinking old English.
When I think of cider, I immediately think of the guy from Fantastic Mr. Fox who actually lives on cider. But the way that Roald Dahl actually described the cider in that storehouse when Mr. Fox goes and gets it, from ever since I was a little kid, I'm like, I think I love cider from now on.
So tell me, Tom, what are you getting from this cider, aside from apples?
Well, these guys have their signature one that got real big in Aussie, the apple crumble one. So that's what I thought it was when I first tasted it, because I do get a little bit of cinnamon on this one.
Do you?
A little bit. Maybe it's got a kind of like a spiciness to it. I'm not quite sure what kind of apples they've been.
Actually, you're right, actually. Maybe it does have a bit of
A bit of
Cardamom?
nutmeg or Who's that cardamom?
Yeah. Chinese five spice?
Chinese. Oh, actually, that wouldn't. Yeah. That wouldn't. That'd be a nice little addition. A bit of Chinese spice in there. I think.
And everything, I hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've tried a few ciders, and I think that this one is really good. It's quite dry, which is awesome. Like, it's not too sweet.
Yeah.
It's like,
you want one that's right down the middle, eh?
Yeah. It's not ridiculously alcoholic, eh? Like, it's what did you say it was? 5%? Yeah, 5%. So
That's reasonable, right?
pretty mellow. Yeah, pretty mellow. I think if you're going for a night, if you're going for going to take it easy on, when you're around other people who are maybe drinking harder stuff, a couple of bottles of the Decipher, original apple cider wouldn't go,
It's certainly it's a summer drink, isn't it?
Yeah, I reckon. Served best in a tall glass with ice,
Yeah,
I think.
I'm agreeing actually. I see ice. I wouldn't even have thought of ice in a cider. I don't know why, but yeah, it totally goes well.
Well, I like the fact that it's not too sweet, and for me, that's 5 stars. Tart, crisp, apple flavour, and it does the job.
Do you reckon that's a function of age, though? Dare I say it? As you get older, you sort of want something that's drier and drier and not as sweet anymore.
Surely, yeah.
Like, once upon a time, I just would, they had made alcoholic Fanta, I'd be just downing it like left, right, and centre. But now I couldn't think of anything worse.
Yeah, it must be.
But I thought our taste buds got duller as we got older, so you would have thought we wanted something stronger in flavour.
That's an interesting point. We need to invite some sort of flavour neurology type
specialist.
Yeah, specialist, and to explain kind of what's going on there. Maybe we should just do one episode that's dedicated to tasting notes,
just 45 minutes of tasting notes,
and we do like 5 minutes of music stuff.
Yeah, that's what we need to do.
With some music played in the background. Yeah. So, how many stars out of 5, Pete?
I'm the local, so I'm going to have to give them 5.
Let's give them 5, yeah, for sure. Locals, they're doing their thing. They've got a great spot out there.
They do. It's a lovely spot
The
out
old
there. Right?
double wigwam setup going on, right? Looks like a luxury.
Well, it's that wedding that we went to not that long ago.
Yeah,
I was quite taken by the place. It's quite lovely.
Yeah, Pete and I performed at a wedding semi-recently. They've got so it's a venue as well, like most wineries and, microbreweries and stuff out around here in Hawke's Bay. They host events, so it's a good spot. Get out there, support them if you see them in your local supermarket. Yeah, great.
So tell me, Tom, were you ever one of these people that's, well, as a kid, did you get up and like sneak out to the TV? Like my parents never let me turn the TV on before 6 a.m. in the morning, but like sometimes when my parents were still asleep, you'd sneak out when you're a kid and turn the TV on and turn it all the way down and like watch TV. Did you ever do that?
I definitely did, yeah.
Yeah? What can you remember watching?
I remember watching Our World, which I've spoken about before.
Yeah.
So that I watched a lot. That's super vibey. That's those synths again, man. That's Stranger Things written all over it. Jean-Michel Jarre. What else did I watch? I can't remember that much else. But
Praise be on a Sunday?
Praise be on a Sunday. Yeah, no, I sort of was like, brought up in this sort of household which was pretty mellow, but, on occasion we did go to church on a Sunday, and I was basically spent the whole time pretty much sleeping on my feet. Yeah, I was just bored the whole time. So that kind of like hymns and stuff like that.
Yep.
Certainly it wasn't a very exciting thing for me. It's a bit different, some of these places in the States, like as gospel.
Like an invigorating gospel?
Yeah, where they have like bands and stuff, and it's actually like, groove based. This was just like,
very ye old English. Again, harking back to the sort of cider element. Cider after church.
Great segue, yeah. Yeah. So I think that I was pretty obsessed with animals, man. All I can remember is Our World, maybe the odd cartoon, like Play School.
Yep.
That
was a good one, eh?
Yeah. Puddle Lane.
Puddle Lane.
Puddle Lane.
How about
Rainbow. How did Puddle Lane go? Is it ding 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 ding?
I can't even think of Puddle Lane.
There's old BBC ones. Puddle Lane was Puddle Lane. Oh, what about
BBC
Button
ones.
Moon?
does that go?
Button Moon. Man, all I can remember is just like Button Moon.
That'll do.
We're going to watch it afterwards.
Yeah, please.
Button Moon is old school.
That sounds old school.
That's like,
it sounds like very 60s.
Well, yeah. When I say old school, I mean like not like black and white. I mean for a very short period of time when you and I would have been babies, basically. Button Moon.
Button Moon, okay.
Oh, that's going back. that kind of stuff. I don't remember sneaking out a whole lot to watch TV, but I can remember, just watching those little things. So yeah. But are you saying that there's like, it's part of that kind of furtiveness? It's kind of that excitement?
Yeah,
That's why it's
totally.
stuck around?
You know, like when you, along with sort of the theme music, like when the theme music came on, like it's really exciting. But it's exciting because you've snuck out of bed when you were told to stay in bed. And turn the TV on, have the volume down to like almost the lowest possible way you could have it, and then have your ear pressed up against the speaker.
Yeah.
Waiting for the TV to come on. This is one of those old Catho Ray TVs, eh?
Yeah.
If Mum caught me, I'd be like in a lot of trouble. But you know, it was good. It was good times.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
It was worth the risk. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. No, I think there were some amazing TV themes back then. I think that directors, it'd be a bad job. Well, I think it's really nice for each song to have this, for each TV show to have this signature song, which is just like, boom, you know that it's there.
Mm-hmm.
They play it at the, Emmys. They play it at the Emmy Awards when they walk up on stage. But it's kind of like a signature, right? An audio signature for a TV show. And maybe I'm a little bit concerned now that we talk about it, that the actual function of that is being pushed out by this whole skipping the intro thing. I mean, like I'm totally guilty of doing that, but you know what I mean?
I imagine that, you know, the generation of today, you know, that were, you know, of the same sort of age that we were obviously in the 80s and things, would find it as a motive probably.
Yeah.
You know, if they were, I'm probably not watching Stranger Things when you're 6 years old, but, you know, the same sort of ilk, you know. And I wonder in 20, 30 years' time, whether those sort of kids and teenagers will have the same sort of affection for the TV themes as we do for the TV themes back in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. Surely. That's all I can say is surely.
Yeah. It'd be interesting. I mean, I don't know if I'll remember to ask these sorts of questions, but I would be quite interested to know.
Yeah.
It's a long time to wait, unfortunately.
My son, he watches anime. You know, he's got his anime shows. JoJo's Amazing Adventures, I think it is one currently. He enjoys that theme song quite a lot for the opening credits. So they get into it. He gets into it for sure.
I really don't know what kids really watch these days. You know, they've got so much on tap. When you look at Netflix, for example, there's just so much, you know, in the way of options. There's not just like the standard 4 cartoons you get on Saturday mornings, you know.
Yeah.
Like Yogi Bear and... Yeah.
Well, interestingly enough, I did see someone share their Spotify rap thing, and it did have TV themes as an actual category in their top 5.
Well, I mean, that makes sense in a lot of ways, you know. Yeah. We were talking about how like emotive they are.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? It's like a slice of nostalgia.
Totally. And so maybe maybe there'll always be a place for them and actually, you know, just with the listening of them rather than, you know.
They are much more culturally important than adverts, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they hold such a special place in your sort of like formation as a human being.
Oh, nice.
We're talking about this in terms of TV, but
TV is a big part of what we do, you know, as well. It kind of is. I mean, it sounds kind of gross, but it kind of is.
I think we just have to accept the fact that it is.
Yeah.
You know, we sort of grew up in a generation where,
you
know, TV was kind of quite a rarity. Well, you know, more of a rarity. Relatively, I don't want to say new technology, but relatively newish technology.
Yeah.
You know, and in this day and age, it's quite different, eh? Quite different.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's leave it at that. How about that?
I think so, yeah.
You know, where I think that what we've sort of come to is that it's always going to be around. This place, it's got more value than advertising music because it's not just pushing a product. It's also pushing like a real tangible plot and narrative and characters and, you know, a range of emotion and that kind of stuff. And so perhaps in our minds, it's got this real relevance and we sort of lock into it. connect with it in ways that we don't with other music.
Yeah.
With other like advertising music and stuff like that.
Well, it's more accessible as well. It sort of straddles that right in
Yeah.
the middle, doesn't it? Like, I mean, we're talking about advertising music, but we're talking about movies and advertising music, and you're right in the middle, and TV was much more accessible.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. Yeah. Oh, great, man. Oh, I think that's covered some interesting things.
Awesome.
Okay, let's call it there. I'll see you next time.
See you next time, Tom.
Thanks for
for
listening,
that.
everyone.
See you guys.
See ya.
Bye.